Hey guys, Seth with Throttle Addiction here. We're back working on our Big Twin Evolution chopper. Figured we'd slow things down, do a little video on this 2-inch old school primary we're putting on it. This thing came with a big, outdated 3.5-inch, kind of hideous situation. We wanted to clean it up a little bit with this 2-inch guy. Figured it'd be a good opportunity to show you guys how to throw one of these on. Kind of got all our parts and pieces laid out here. Got our little instructions. So we're gonna jump right in here and start installing this bad boy. First thing we want to do, once you get your old one pulled off, your old primary all taken apart, these fit a little different, so we're going to loosen up all our transmission bolts. There's 5 of those. That way when we get our motor plate put up, we're able to get everything completely lined up perfect, and then we're going to go back and snug those up. So I already got those 5 bolts loosened up, so we're going to throw this guy on, get her snugged, get everything lined up, and get her tightened down. So nothing too crazy here. We're just going to slide it over the shaft. Get it into position. Sometimes you might need a little dead blow or something to get your dowels, get it seated on the dowels, but usually just a little bit of wiggle and she'll go on there. So we got her flush up against the motor, flush up against the transmission. Now we're going to put our bolts in, snug everything up, tighten those transmission bolts to lock that in place. We're going to come back, pull these out in a moment, stick some light Loctite on them and torque them, but for the sake of this, we're just going to stick them in there. 4 bolts up front, 4 in the rear. The longer guys go in the rear, shorter guys up front. So we got them all started. Now we're just going to snug them down a bit. Watching the gap here between the case and our transmission, making sure all that's looking good, lining up, pulling in nicely. Nothing's binding, our dowel pins aren't hitting. So we got all 8 of our bolts there, the 4 up to the motor, 4 back to the transmission, all snugged down, pulled that transmission right over where it needs to be. So now we're going to bump underneath there. There's 5 nuts with bolts sticking down. We're going to tighten all those. That's going to hold the transmission in place. We're going to pop those bolts back out, Loctite them, and get them torqued. We got our 5 bolts under here. Give them a snug. So we got our transmission tightened down. It's going to stay right where we need it to go. Everything's good and lined up. We're going to pop those 8 bolts back out, stick a little red Loctite on each one of them, and then we're going to torque those. Torque spec 18 to 22 foot-pounds on those. Harleys like Loctite, especially when we got a rigid frame here. Loctite's your friend. As long as you install everything correctly, so you don't have to take it apart and do it twice. All right, got them all snugged up. Now we're going to go through and get them all torqued. No real torque pattern here. Just going to start with the inner ones and work my way out. Got them all torqued. Going to run through. Check them all one more time. That is step 1. It's already starting to look like something. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to start installing our components here. First thing we're going to do is install our clutch basket assembly. This thing comes straight from Ultima pre-assembled just like this. Pretty straightforward. Nothing to do here other than slide it on. Spline shaft. Give it a little thump. Make sure it's seated on there. Get that guy on there. Belt situated up here. Next thing, got a little spacer, a little washer here. Goes over our shaft. Seats on the back of here. Gonna stick those guys on. Now the fun part is getting this guy started along with our belt, kind of all at the same time here, lining up our splines. We got our pulleys on there, our engine pulley, clutch basket, got our belt all installed. Next thing we're going to want to do, we're going to put our nuts on there, just get them finger tight, and we're going to check to make sure that our two pulleys are sitting true to each other in line. If not, they make different spacers. We can stick behind our engine pulley to move that out, skinnier ones to move it in. So we're going to start by sticking these on here quick, just getting them hand tight and seeing how things look. Thing to note, your retainer nut for your clutch basket is reverse thread, so we want to make sure we know that going in. Get yourself in a little bit of a pickle trying to take your old one off. So we got these snug down relatively tight. Going to take a straight edge of sorts here, stick across your front pulley and your rear pulley right along the flat surfaces. You want to make sure you're not sitting up here, and just check to make sure that everything lines up nice and dandy, which it does. So we are all good. Usually that's going to be the case. If not, like I say, we can get different spacer thicknesses for your front motor pulley to pull that out or in to get everything in line. Belt primaries are not nearly as picky as your chain. They don't have to be quite as tight, but just to keep that belt on there right in the center where we want it, we need to make sure those are good and flush. Now we're going to pop these back off so we can get some Loctite on them and get them torqued down. A little bit of Loctite. Got our washer on back there. Probably tired of me saying it, but reverse thread. Now the fun part. So like I say, they make tools for locking these splines together. Hold this, little bars that go into here, lock everything in place, so when you torque all this, holds it all in position, nothing rotating. We're going to attempt to do it with a cheap Amazon set of steps there and a little board we cut here to lock in between there. Again, things you can get cheap, easy, quick, make. We'll see if we can get her done. All right, so our clutch basket nut torques to 55 to 60 foot-pounds. So we're going to start with that one. Reverse thread. There it is. All right. That is one. Reverse thread. Now our front engine pulley, we're going to torque that to manufacturer specs. So whatever whether you got Evolution, twin cam, whatever that requires, is what we are torquing that to. Reverse our little board there. And there we are, torqued, double torqued, with nothing more than an Amazon $9.99 copy of a tool. Worked out pretty good, and a piece of board we just hacked into pieces and stuck in there. Saved a few bucks on toolage, got the job done. Next step here, we're going to throw our clutch steel and frictions into our clutch basket, get our pressure plate all installed on there, and adjust the clutch. So we'll open up these bad boys, come with the kit, made in the United States of America. Got all those unpackaged here. So we got our friction plates, a pile of those, and our steel plates. We are starting with a steel plate. There is one that is a thicker one. So we are going to get all these separated, locate that thicker one, and install it first. So we got them separated out, got our frictions, got our steels. Pretty evident just with the naked eye which one is the thicker one, significantly thicker. We are starting with that one. So So dry clutch, no need to lube or do anything fancy with these. From there, we're just going to alternate. We got a steel, now we're friction, then a steel, then a friction, so on and so forth. So friction. Steel. Math adds up. We are ending in a friction. If you are not, that means you got your order off. Take them out, start again. Next thing we're gonna need are all the components for our clutch pressure plate. Get all those pulled out here and get the pressure plate installed. Got all our clutch plates in, ending on a friction. Now we're gonna go ahead and get the clutch pressure plate prepped up, ready, get that installed. So the first thing we want to do here is get our clutch adjuster installed, a little bit of anti-seize, high temp grease, something thrown on there where it contacts your push rod, a little on the threads there. Not too much. This is a dry clutch system, so we don't want a ton of goop on there. Get that started down in there. So we got our clutch adjuster installed, got a little grease on there. Now we're gonna throw our clutch pressure plate on. There are indexing marks both on the pressure plate and your inner clutch ring here. Right there is this guy, right there is that guy. So you're going to want to make sure when you turn it over, install this, those line up. That's going to ensure all your bolt holes and everything are where they need to be. So we got our mark here, we got our mark right here. We're going to line those up and slide that bad boy on. So now we got our clutch pressure plate set up there. We got our indexing marks all lined up. We're going to go ahead and put our spring collars, and our hardware, and get all those tightened and torqued down. Stick a little Loctite on our hardware here, and get these bad boys installed. Don't tighten them all down or tighten them all the way down right away. Just kind of get them all started, and then we're going to go in a circle, get them snugged up, come back, get our torque wrench, get them all torqued to spec. So we got all our clutch springs started. Now we're going to go around kind of in a star pattern, get them snugged up, and then we're going to hit them with our final torque. Final torque is 90 inch-pounds, not to be mistaken for 90 foot-pounds. You will break those tiny little fellas off. 90 inch-pounds. Those spring collars should be completely seated against the base of the shoulder in there when we're at our torque. Got them all snugged up. Now we're going to go hit our final torque. Star pattern. Starting to look like a primary. Got everything on, tightened up, clutch springs all torqued down. Now we're going to adjust our clutch quick. We're going to get our starter installed, get our starter gear all hooked up, and then we're on to putting the pretty pieces on. Adjusting the clutch. We're going to run the clutch adjuster in till it hits our push rod. So you're just going to spin it in till you get a little resistance. You can feel it hitting something. If you're not quite sure, keep spinning it in a little. You'll see your pressure plate start to move. That's when you know you're there. So as soon as it touches, then we're going to back it off a quarter turn and lock our lock nut down. Keep in mind, before we do this, you're going to want to take all the slack out of your clutch cable adjuster, get that loose so you have all your free play. Then we're going to set this, and then you're going to go back and set the rest of your clutch adjustment with your cable adjuster. So we're going to spin it in here until we get a little contact there. Like I say, we can keep spinning. You can see it pushes the pressure plate out. So as soon as it touches right about there, we're going to back that off a quarter-ish and lock our jam nut in place. All right, clutch adjustment there is complete. Now I'm going to bounce around the backside. Your starter for your original primary is going to have a different shaft on it than is required with the open primary. So there's a center bolt. You got to pull that off, strip all that stuff out. Comes with all the new stuff. We'll get this in and I'll run you through all that. We got our alignment dowel hole here, our alignment dowel on the transmission case. We're just going to stick this in, tighten our 2 Allen bolts up. So we got our starter thrown on there. Next thing we're going to do is install our starter gear. The manual's got a pretty good blown up picture of the order this guy goes in. We got our spacer, spring, the gear itself, another spacer on the inside, your collared spacer, and your bolt. So we're going to get all that kind of stuck on there like so, and then install all that fun stuff in on our starter shaft. Got our spacer on. Next is the spring. Throw a little Loctite on a retainer bolt there. Slide that through. So we got it in there snug. Now we're going to pull that starter gear out till it hits our clutch gear to hold it in place to give her some final torque down. There we go. Now we're going to install our pretty little cover over that. Pretty important on this guy, since this is a dry clutch. You're not going to have oil up in any of this inside your primary like you would a standard primary. So we're going to need to put some grease, high temp grease, anti-seize, something in there to reduce the friction in your starter spinning in this brass bushing. Ultima recommends pulling this off every so often. Put new grease in there, new anti-seize, stop it from running dry and burning up this bushing. Little Loctite on our hardware. Slide that on. Get them both started and run them in. Again with our 18 to 22 foot-pounds of torque. Torque those down. Last step is putting our pretty stuff on. We got all the functional, the real do-it stuff. We're going to throw the pretty stuff on and wrap her up here. First is our engine pulley cover. Stick that guy on, liner bolt holes up, little Loctite, not anti-seize, the other one. Engine cover on. Now we got our chrome little clutch housing cover. All right, got all those in there, ran up tight. Now we're going to torque them to, hold please, 120 to 140 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. Much different. Gonna go around quick, torque all these. We are torqued, we are done. Time. there you have it. We are all wrapped up. Our 2-inch old school open primary, all installed. There will be a link to this in the description if you're interested, as well as tons of other kick-ass chopper parts. Go to throttleaddiction.com for all the goodies. And obviously, can't leave without saying like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.